Afternoon, everyone. It's Sean Buchanan at Equal Starts. Again, I've invited on a special guest, someone esteemed that I've known from Daddy's Voices nearly 4 years ago now. And he has a life coaching business, very conscientious man. And I'd like to welcome on James from Purposeful
Greetings.
Life Coach.
Hey, greetings, Sean. Good to see you. Good to see you. Man, 4 years. That time's gone quick, man.
No, 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 no,
Time flies, man. But no,
no.
really good to see you. Really glad to be here with you, man.
So
How's it?
tell everyone for me how you started Purposeful Life Coach, because I remember you had a conventional job when we first met.
Yeah,
Uh,
literally. When we first met, I was working for Virgin Media, if you remember, right? I was in sales,
mm,
right? So,
mm,
um, no, I think, back in them times when I was had a real job, right? It was very much about um being part of the system, as in you get married, you get kids, you hold down a real job, all these kind of things, right? And I bought into that notion. But I remember when I got made redundant, that's when things started clicking for me. It's like you put all your time, all your energy, all your soul to an employer, and at the end of the day, they can just take it all away, just like that, right? You're
mm,
just a number. So that really resonated, right? So when I went through that redundancy, something really resonated. It's like, okay, I need to reflect on what is my passion, what is something that I want to do that's going to allow me to live a more fulfilled life. Is working a 9 to 5 what I want, or am I doing it because of what expectations and society says? And I really got present to that what was actually occurring. So then when I start reflecting, okay, what is it I want to do? I'll put a few things together. Number one, I have a passion for people, right? I'm based on my past, I'm a people pleaser, as we'll say, right? So I have a
mm,
passion for people. Also because I did a lot of work on myself, through my own personal development journey. I got to really understand the value of working on yourself. So I said, imagine I was to be able to create a situation where I can use my passion for people and then show them how to grow and elevate through personal development like I did.
mm.
What kind of world can we create? And that's when I put all of that together and decided that, you know what, maybe life coaching can be the route for me because I went through that journey myself. Um, so then I did my coaching training. I got my accreditation, and then I built, our coaching business, which is Purposeful Coach, or Purposeful Peak
Mm.
Performance Coaching, right? So now, 4 years later, especially in this iteration of me, I'm what you call a purpose alignment coach, which is
Mm.
basically, in a nutshell, working with people to align with their authentic selves and then thus discovering what their actual purpose is in life moving forward so they can start living powerfully, where you move from survival to thriving mode.
Mm. It's true. We need more of that. We need more of that. To be fair, we need more of that. So where do you envisage it going?
So,
What's your ideal situation?
so again,
The
from
business.
my experience, right, I
Mm.
believe everybody can do with some sort of coaching, some sort of um support to become the best version of themselves, right? And if you think about it, right, like some of the best sports stars, some of the best business people, some of the best entertainers, they all have a coach, right? So I think it's important, first of all, to understand what coaching actually is. So from my perspective, coaching fundamentally is the ability to support someone to get out their own way. You work with that person to move them from one way of thinking to a more powerful, enlightened way of thinking to then start living life powerfully. That's essentially what coaching is. And if you think about it in the context of sports, for example, you have a football player, their coach is there to help show them their shortcomings, how they can become better players, how they can, do things, in a different way to be, produce better results. So
Definitely.
that's exactly what we do. But in terms of life coaching, it's very much about working with people to kind of shine certain lights on certain parts of their lives that's contributing to them not being the best version of themselves. And when you shine the light on those particular areas, that's when you're able to deal with it. So you leave them where they belong, so you can move forward powerfully. So that's why I kind of say that I believe fundamentally that everybody can benefit from getting life coaching, right? So because of that fundamental belief that I have, the business that we have created, I do believe it has a great future. Because right now we are busy with our one-to-one coaching,
Mm.
but I'm at a stage right now personally where I believe I need to step up in terms of doing more work. So moving forward, to answer your question, it's about thinking about how do we, serve more people at the same time. And it's got me thinking about, group coaching. It's got me thinking about doing work in the community, going to different establishments, whether it's, prisons, schools, corporate spaces, right?
Definitely.
Anywhere where there's groups of people that come together, I want to be in that space. And then the second thinking behind the business, and what we're doing now, it's we're thinking more about how can we do more work in a collaborative sense, because we know that there are many people who are up to big things in their life and they want to make a difference in the community. So how do we come together, utilizing each other's superpowers to add more value? So I know, for example, Sean, you have Equal Start CIC, and you're doing great work in the community. It's in that kind of notion of collaborating with like-minded individuals to be more valuable to the
Yeah,
community. So
definitely,
that's my
definitely.
thinking as well. Collaboration is the way forward. We can't do this type of work by ourselves. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
So that's where I'm at the moment. It's very much about doing more collaborative work, doing more group work, being in different settings, being out in the community to make more of a fundamental impact. So that's where the business is going moving forward.
Yeah, that's serious. Yeah, but I went to actually a community meeting yesterday, Mountain Youth Partnership, and they've got a lot of the organization, big ones, connecting to the smaller satellite ones,
Hmm.
and they're trying to create a foundation. So going forward, you should maybe attend some of the meetings.
For
You know,
sure.
there's a said collective as well in that I've been going to
Oh wow.
a year and a half. Funny enough, me and Daniel done. Have you seen it? It's on the channel.
No, I haven't
Me and
seen. I
Daniel
haven't
went
had access.
we went on a panel talk about how to improve the socioeconomics of community. But as you said,
Mm,
purposefully, that it benefits everyone instead of, stakeholders and investors. So Daniel's always talking about building ecosystems, for he's been saying that for years now.
yes, yes,
And
yes.
through his there is no box vehicle. He's
Mm,
actually putting into the steps now the things that
mm,
are needed to, for instance, the consultation work I told you about. They're going to go
mm,
into schools about, children struggling with actually the school setting and need extra support through the send
mm,
that needs. And
I'm with you.
we've been doing research and looking into that and seeing how the mentoring within schools are helping people further themselves and prevent them from getting into trouble and falling into juvenile delinquency.
Mm.
So that you should check in with that.
That's actually
Mm.
quite powerful, actually, because that it does go in line with what I'm doing, and my thinking, and it's actually a fundamental reality that when you're working with young people specifically, in terms of behavior and all these kind of things, there has to be an understanding of where that comes from. How does that originate, right?
Mm.
And fundamentally, once you understand where it comes from, that's when you can tackle the root causes, and then you deal with the symptom and you deal with the outcome. So from my perspective as a coach, when I'm working with individuals, it's very much about getting them to understand their genesis. Why do I think the way I think? Why do I behave the way I behave? Why do
Okay.
I do the actions that I do? And really having an interest into understanding that. Because what we don't do enough, Sean, we don't do enough self-assessment. We're
Mm.
always looking at society,
Of course,
circumstance,
yeah,
situations. We're
yeah.
blaming
Outside
outside of that.
circumstances, yeah,
Does that make
yeah,
sense, right? And that's too easy to do that. And
yeah.
that removes the accountability for
Ability.
self, right? So that's why my thinking is, okay, how are we taking accountability for my role, my thinking, my actions in this circumstance? So once we shift the narrative, that's when I feel we get more power to be able to deal with that situation much in a more profound way. So if you're working with young people, we get to understand, okay, you're thinking this way. Where does it come from? What are you taking ownership? Are you taking accountability? What are you doing about it? And then how do you move forward? So it's a different perspective than rather than just, attacking the behavior itself. That's too
Mm.
easy. That's too easy. And again, I remember, I think 2 years ago, I did some work with an organization called UPress.
Okay,
They're a CIC as well, and
okay.
they work with young people, and their main work it's in the digital media creative space. So they work with young aspiring artists, filmmakers, photographers, etc. And then they put them in situations where they can get those skills to then go out in the world with those skills, right? And I did a 7 week program with them, and it was based around my coaching principles, right? Very much about understanding your mindset, understanding how to be your authentic self, and then understanding what your purpose can potentially be. That's the three frameworks called MAP: mindset, authenticity, and purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So that's essentially my program. So we took them through this 7 sessions, and Sean, I kid you not, I went into these sessions with one way of thinking. If they can get one thing, great, I've done something. If I can just get them to think differently about their circumstance, then great. But what
Mm-hmm.
we actually found, because there was a safe space for these young people, they were sharing some real vulnerable stories about their experiences and what they've gone through and how it's resulted in the people that they've become. Some of them were even sharing some of their trauma. And I was like, hang on, I didn't expect this. I thought these young people were very much closed off and not want to reveal themselves and trying to hide what's occurring because
Mm-hmm.
they don't want to be judged because, at that age,
Mm-hmm.
especially between, 13 and 20, a lot of young people have an emphasis on people's opinions, especially their peer groups, right?
Yeah, especially their peer groups, especially their
Especially
peer
their
groups.
peer groups, right? So we got to understand that all they needed was a safe space, a place where there's non-judgment. We're all trying to get to an understanding of what's occurring for us, and then they can share what's there. And that way, as a coach, I was able to guide them even much more powerfully because the real person is there, not the person that's trying to have a persona that's out in the world. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course, yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. And because that was occurring, they got to really deal with what's there for them. And the tools I was sharing with them really resonated and it landed powerfully. So when it came towards the end of the program, a lot of these people were saying things like, I feel more confident, I have more clarity, I was able to kind of get these off my chest. And they were actually doing better in their own fields, whether it is writing better songs or performing with more confidence on the stage. They
Yeah.
had more self-belief in themselves,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I was just like, wow, this is powerful. So this again, it's the reason why I say everyone needs a coach or everyone needs to do some sort of personal development because once you deal with yourself, there is no more barriers, there's no more limitations to what's possible moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? You
Yeah, of
deal with
course.
self and you remove
Mm-hmm.
all the barriers, you remove all the limitations that we sometimes actually create for ourselves. And then that allows you to become the, more complete and wholesome individual.
You forget, remember, I'm a man that used to watch He-Man and Never Ending Story.
Yes,
So
exactly.
yeah, so I still got that kind of mindset. Now even my second son was mocking me the other day. He said, "Oh, Dad, you went to that meeting and said, oh, your inspiration when you was young came from He-Man." I said, "Yes,
Yeah,
because it shows you how the world could be ideally
exactly.
and how
Yes.
you ought to be." So I said, even though the cynicism and obviously disappointment, the setbacks, I said deep down inside, I still have that.
Yes.
That's why I said otherwise your dad would have fallen over long ago from the things I've had to face. So
100%. 100%.
he finds that interesting. So I'm
Mm,
trying to give him the, as I say, the deeper training. We're trying to expose him to the things that I watched when I was young. Yeah,
I
stuff like
love
the
that.
Brenda story, everything like that. And he likes the newest version of He-Man and that. So does my
Yes.
daughter,
And
funny enough.
I love
And
that.
I
And
shot on
the movie is
obviously
coming out soon, isn't it? To
yeah,
actually.
yeah. And then he's seen obviously the title of on the panel talks I have opening intro showing William Wallace, out of Braveheart,
Yes, yes, yes.
Hamilton in Judas and Messiah. Yeah, so
Mm.
with Daniel Kaluuya.
Danny Kaluuya,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
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 yes,
yeah.
yes,
Where
yes,
he's playing
yes.
that. So I am a revolutionary. So one
Love
of
that.
the teachers at his school told him said yes. He's very much fixated on this social justice stuff. Where's this come from? Yeah, no, sure. It's so serious that he's certain teacher told him that Michael will never stand for that. He's the king of justice.
Oh, I love that.
No,
I
I
love
got him the
that.
T-shirt, so he likes that. I've got him
What?
the T-shirt with the king of justice
What?
and the man that make
Hey,
my
Sean,
jumpers.
you
So
can't underestimate the power of that, right? Because remember, society is quick to label our kids, right? They're
mm,
quick to label kids in general, but they're quick to even label our kids. I'm sure you can
definitely.
appreciate that. But if, as parents, we're doing just what you just did, you're ascribing a label that's powerful, that's wrapped up in ownership, accountability. It's wrapped up in the notion that if I'm able to put my mind to something I can accomplish, right? That is a different way of taking accountability for your life that society does not necessarily perpetuate all the time. Do you know
mm,
what I mean? And that's
mm,
why I keep saying about, accountability, self-awareness. It's a tool that we need to really sharpen. Like if I'm aware of my emotions, if I'm aware of my actions, if I'm aware where it's coming from, then I can start taking more ownership of my life.
mm.
And if you're giving that to your son at this age, Sean, man, listen, you've hit the lottery, man. Like
Yeah, no, to be
think about
fair,
that.
I
Think
tried that
about
with
that.
all of them. I tried that with all of them, as you know, with my eldest when I was
Yeah,
with them. I tried that with
yeah.
him as well, but not everyone accepts the programming.
Of
Mm,
course, exactly. So if you're able to, empower your children to go out into the world as empowered people, man, we've done our jobs, man, as parents, like seriously.
mm,
And this is where you and at the same time you need to acknowledge yourself, and we don't do that enough.
mm,
We don't do that enough. 'Cause like you just said, you've gone through your own trials and tribulations, right? But
mm,
still, despite your trials and tribulations, you still have this mindset. You're still about social justice. You're still about empowerment. You're still about community. And that says a lot about you, Sean. So I just want to kind of, give you some flowers if you haven't acknowledged
mm.
yourself enough,
Thank
man.
you, thank you. Yeah. So
You
you
know,
see, when you're doing your coaching, what's the kind of blocks that you find that you have with people when you're trying to get them to understand the principles that you operate by? Do you get much rejection at first, or are they
I
really
mean,
thinking and really believing?
yeah, I mean, first of all, when my principle when I start coaching is I want to work with people who are ready. And when I say ready, they actually acknowledge that something needs to shift. Something is not working. That is what I keep saying about self-awareness. If you are aware that something is not working within your life, that's the first step. And then you have the appetite to actually cause a
Mm.
shift. That's the
That's
second
the
step,
appetite. That's what I
right?
struggle to
You
get
have
people to think. Because you
exactly,
can't
you
put
have
the appetite in them. It's got to come
exactly.
from
It has to
within.
come from themselves. Just like someone who's addicted to drink or drugs or
Mm,
whatever, they have to know that they have a problem and then the willingness to cause a shift. So once people have those two ingredients, then I'm activated as a coach, right? And
mm.
then the third thing is, are you willing to do what's necessary to do the work? And then that comes from the initial conversation that we'll have. So we have what we call a discovery call, which usually
Okay.
lasts for about an hour, right? And in that
Okay.
conversation, it's basically I ask them questions, I give them a space to just verbal diarrhea, get everything out that they're really dealing with, right?
Yeah, you're good at that.
And
I've noticed that you're good at that. I remember when you was kind of coaching that time we went to the cinema. What was it?
yeah,
Angel.
in Angel, yeah,
And I
yeah,
was telling you about my eldest son and the troubles I had with the family and that. And you
yeah.
said, "Oh, and you was giving, yeah, I could tell you had your coach head on."
Yeah, I had
You
my
did
coaching
remember, I
hat
think
on my
we was outside talking for about what, hour and a half, weren't we?
yeah,
After we
literally,
what was it? Bullet Train. We went to watch
literally.
Bullet Train.
Yes, that's
Daniel.
right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So, and that again, that's a really powerful component to coaching because people they need a safe space. People want to be seen and heard fundamentally. That's our nature. We want to be seen and want to be heard, right? So you give people that space to kind of really share what's occurring for them, but then they don't acknowledge that what they're doing is giving the coach the ammunition to then
Mm,
work with them
mm,
because they might be saying one thing but we're trained to listen underneath the surface, right? So as you can see, my logo is an iceberg, right?
mm. Yeah, cool.
So
So the icebergs under the water. Yeah, I find that poignant. Yeah, cool. I
exactly,
remember I
right?
learned that from biology, science,
Yes.
geography, all them years ago with the Titanic. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
exactly that, right? So they're giving all the information, which then allows me to understand what's really going on with that person. And then in the discovery call, I bring that awareness to their attention.
Okay.
You said this, but do you mean this, or could this possibly be occurring? And they're like, oh my goodness, I didn't see that. That's exactly what's happening, right? So what that
Mm,
means is they have been holding on to what's actually occurring and just masking it with what
mm.
people what they want to show the world, just the preservation.
Funny you say that. Do you think that's because of society though? Because obviously you
100%
have politics, you have work. You may not like the
culture,
manager,
religion,
you might not like the
none
way
of
you're
that.
treated, and then you have to mask and say, "Look, I've got responsibilities. I can't afford to do this job or this money, or I don't want to fall out with this person and seem like I'm bad, or I'm
100%.
not able to
It,
work in
it
a collective and not a team player." So they have to kind of
100%.
mask themselves, and then obviously they come home and they maybe in a sour mood, take it out on the kids and their partner. Because as you see, like the domestic abuse work I've done,
Yes, yes,
I had to tell them the pattern with my parents when I was growing up, because they couldn't tell their managers at work, and obviously they had to keep a have roof over their head, pay their mortgage, their
yes,
bills.
yes.
they have to suck up a lot of disrespect. And then they
That's
come
exactly
home,
what it
and
is.
because we're small and vulnerable, they take out on us. And I, from about 7, 8, I used to judge my parents through. I used to tell them about themselves. I said, "Look, I can tell you're in the mood. What's wrong with you?" I used to get whooped for it. Yeah, so
Mm,
things like that. I said, and I realized, I said, when I used to think that was maybe exceptional, as I've gone out and done this campaign work, a lot of people do that. It might not always be like physical abuse, but then sometimes it's emotional
emotional,
or
that's the
they're
worst one.
neglectful. So they said, "Oh, I don't want to talk to you. I want to leave you alone." So these are the kind of things to realize you said the root causes of these issues. And then obviously
Mm,
looking in yourself, what I've noticed, maybe you can enlighten me on this, a lot of fear about looking at their flaws. You remember,
100%.
you remember never in the story where Atreyu went to the mirror gate when he got
Hmm.
past the one where they fired the bolts at him,
The
and
bolts,
the
yes,
next
yes,
gate
yes,
would be
yes.
easy because they said he knows himself. And
Mm,
the elven man said, "Listen," he said, "No, the mirror gate is even more
because
dangerous
that's
because
the fear
it
of
shows you who
confronting
you really
self.
are inside."
Yes,
He said,
yes, confronting
"Brave
self.
people find out they're really cowards. You see
Yes,
it. Blind people
yes,
find out they're cruel. Confronted by their true
100%.
selves, they run away screaming into the snow wilderness." So he was shocked by that, and I always remember that from young.
And that is a powerful depiction right there, because that literally explains everybody in a nutshell, right? We put on this persona, we wear these masks, we wear these different hats to fit in, to be
Mm,
accepted. That's the issue,
mm,
right? But then what tends to happen, we get physically and mentally drained by keeping on putting on that persona, putting on that hat. It's
mm.
heavy to
Can
wear,
lead
right?
to
You're
mental
going
health
against your
issues,
neck. Exactly.
physical health.
You exactly. You're going against your nature. And sometimes because we don't even know who we are, we just perpetuate that persona, that mask, again, just to fit in. But then it gets to a point where all that charade, that facade gets seen through. And then what are you left with? You don't know who you are. So then there's no wonder why people are breaking down with come from a perspective of mental health, right? It's because they've been putting on this charade for such a long time. So
But
my
like you said,
perspective
innit?
as
Charles Darwin, adapt to survive. That's what they reckon is evolution. So a lot of corporate people said, "Well, listen, you got to adapt, mate. Otherwise, you're not
yeah,
gonna make it in here."
yeah,
And the rhyme is Darwin, yeah, adapt to survive.
yeah. But
Mm.
think about that even itself, because Darwin talks about survival of the fittest, right? And I came across this the other day. Even the notion of survival of the fittest does not allow for collaboration.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
I need to
yeah.
be better than you so I can
You,
dominate
yeah,
you.
yeah,
Think about that.
yeah, yeah,
Think about that. I need to be better than you so I can dominate you.
you
And look at
do,
the
yeah,
world we're living in. How
yeah.
about we come together? How about we work together to address a common problem? How about my competition should be with me? How can I be better
Mm,
today? There's that notion of every day I must be 1% better. That's the notion of that. That is the real competition. But we're
mm.
not, that's not been advocated, right? It's I need to be
To
better
be
than
fair,
you.
I've noticed it's growing because, like
Mm,
yourself, I've seen there was a campaigner that the the kind of social justice thing around parental alienation and dads,
mm.
non-resident dads, and he had a YouTube channel. He was disgruntled, and then he made up his own kind of media company called Disqualified Dads, and
Oh yes,
he's
yes, yes,
coaching
I know.
around family
Yes.
courts.
Yeah, yeah, I
So
know him.
he's become a life coach as well now. A
Yeah, I
shock
know him. I know
because
him. I see
he
him. I
like
see him.
me, he worked in facilities maintenance as an
Yes,
engineer.
yes, yes,
So that's
yes.
why I used to get along with him.
Yeah, you had a few episodes with him, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
In,
yes,
in
I
his early
remember. I
days, in his
remember.
early days, he's
Yes,
a
I
young
remember.
man.
Yes, he's up there now. Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember. But this is the point, right? We talked about the persona, the masks that it's too heavy to wear. So this is why it's important to confront yourself. Like I keep saying, confront the true, raw, naked self, so you can understand your flaws, so you can then understand where your shortcomings are. But then you got to deal with it. Don't just say, "Oh, I'm not good at communicating," or "I'm not good at time management," or "I'm not good at express emotional intelligence," or "I'm not good at advocating for myself." Don't just state it as fact.
Mm.
State it as this is an area that I'm not good in,
True.
but
Yeah.
I need to work on it to become a better version of
Yeah.
myself. But not many people are able to transition from that awareness of this is
Yeah.
not working
Yeah,
to
that's the
then taking
thing.
the
Yeah.
action.
Yeah.
That's where people fall short.
No, I find, especially human nature, most people, in my experience, that I come across, that is always the hardest part. And that's
Yes,
why a lot of people don't rise above their station or live the life that they want.
exactly. But Sean, this is why purpose is the key to that.
Mm,
If you have clarity in your purpose, or even the willingness to make that journey to understand what your purpose is, it makes you rise above all of that because now you're gearing up yourself for something bigger and better. So
mm,
imagine now if someone says, okay, I'm working on myself and I've got a purpose. For example, I'll pick you for example. Your Sean's purpose is to make sure Equal Start CIC is a fundamental institution in the global scene or in the UK scene.
mm,
That's my purpose, for example.
mm,
So what that means, every day you wake up, that's on your mind. How do I become a better person? How do I manage my time? How do I communicate powerfully? How am I organized? How am I compartmentalizing my life and my tasks to make sure I'm doing everything in my power to get Equal Start CIC as a big industry player?
mm,
That is real purpose, and that's what it does for you. It makes you raise your game. So therefore, I don't have time for pettiness. I don't have time for squabbling. I don't have time to,
mm,
you know, criticize or
mm,
chastise or backbite. I ain't got none of that. I ain't got time for none of that because my mission, my purpose is for Equal Start CIC to be a global player because I know what it can do. It can impact the community.
yeah, definitely,
So
definitely.
I can't play small anymore.
Mm,
Does that make sense? I have no
mm,
time to play small. So
mm.
that's what I'm saying. Once your purpose is clear or you're working towards it, it makes you raise your levels. But we don't do
Have
that
you
enough.
have you ever found any of your clients saying that the vision's so big it nearly overwhelms them? Or it does
100%.
overwhelm them.
Yeah,
So how do you
100%. But
get
that's
them
a
to
good
get
thing.
past that barrier?
But that's a good thing though, because what you have to do is you have to shift the perspective around the fear of that.
Mm.
Because remember, what does fear stand for? False
So
evidence
evidence
appearing
very
real,
real.
right? And that's all it is. But the bigger the goal, that means there's more that means you're invested in that. There's a fear of failure, but it's about understanding why you're saying it's bigger than you, why the fear is there. What does that mean? And it's up for a lot of people, it's again, if I fail, I might get criticized. Or if I
Mm,
succeed,
mm,
am I equipped to be successful? That's
mm,
basically what it is. But
mm,
once you get over that, we're winning, man. You just have to get over the initial fear, like we said, and understand where it's coming from. That's why I said you have to tackle the question or the feeling. And when we're doing that, it's quite simple, Sean. We have to operate either from a place of fact or a place of emotion.
mm.
It's always those two at play.
Yeah,
I'm
definitely, definitely,
feeling,
definitely.
right? I'm
Yeah,
feeling
I
overwhelmed. I'm
battled with that
feeling
myself.
fearful. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm
Mm,
feeling fearful. I'm feeling overwhelmed. We never say, I'm factually fearful. I'm factually overwhelmed.
mm,
We don't say that, right?
mm,
So
mm,
if we program ourselves to separate fact from emotions, we can deal with life more powerfully. So then, like I said, the facts equals start CIC has the potential to make a real impact in the community. That's fact. So what do I need to factually do is
mm,
manage my time, compartmentalize, get the right people on board, communicate powerfully. That's fact. The the overwhelm of how big it can be, that's just emotions.
mm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, of course, of course. But I'm always interested how you get because, but when obviously without your benefit, your qualifications and your training, when I've tried to do that, like G people, I said, look, oh, we can do it. We're together, where there's people, there's power. You see, that's
Yes,
my mantra.
I'm
Yeah.
with you.
So they're like initially they're like, yes, yes, we can do it. Oh, I'm gonna think, and then over the time, people drop off. Or they're
Yes,
not doing what they're supposed to do. I said, oh, how are we gonna think? And then obviously I get disheartened. And I said, "Ah."
exactly.
Obviously, I
Exactly.
might criticize them and say, oh, "What are you doing?" And they might criticize me. And I think, yeah, boy, when are we get? When is it going to come to an end? So I
Mm,
think that people will get stuck in that. And to
yes.
be fair,
But
sometimes
this
I do as well. Still,
but this is why again for you as the visionary, as you as the torch, you need to be super convinced and really clear on the vision, the aim, the goal, what you're trying to accomplish. Once you're clear on that and it's in your subconscious, in coaching, we have this term called enrollment, which is basically you're communicating your vision in such a way that it leaves people feeling touched, moved, and inspired, which then compels them to want to support your mission and get on board, right? But it has to start from you being totally convinced and clear, no ambiguity, no uncertainty about what you're trying to accomplish, and then you communicate that from that foundation with people, and that's how you get people on board.
how many people are then would you say when you that you serve actually embrace that and move forward? Do you say most of them, or like would you say the minority of them actually embrace that final step of
So these are the
overcoming
people. So the question is the people I'm serving already, or the people I'm wanting to serve.
or serving already?
Okay, cool. So effectively the clients I'm already working with, yeah.
Okay.
So I guess, and it's something I really pride myself in. When I do have clients, I usually put them through a 3-month program, and all of them that I've worked with, and I've been doing this for a while now, they've all seen that 3-month program out, right? They've seen it through. And I've even have some people who take on other programs who are even with me for a longer term. And the reason why that happens is that two things. The first thing, the program itself, the 3-month program is designed in a specific way that it takes them on a journey of evolution, right? Like I said, the framework of MAP, mindset, authenticity, and purpose is the framework. So for the first 4 weeks, we take them through the mindset journey where we're working with their mind, helping them think differently, move them from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset, for example, understand the power of negative thinking and positive thinking, et cetera, right? So that's the mindset phase. Then the second phase is the authenticity phase, where we will work with them to understand who they truly are, understand their values, their goals, their desires, their true voice. Remember, we move them from the persona to authentic being, right? So that's a journey we take them through as well. So that's the map, mindset and authenticity. And then once they are, again, confirmed about their mindset has shifted, they're thinking more powerfully. And you notice that, by the way, and they really stepping into their authentic selves and their authentic voice, then the last thing is trying to work with them to understand their purpose. So that's the P, that's the purpose creation. So within that purpose phase, which is again 4 weeks, we work with them to understand what could be their purpose for the future. And in some instances, I help people build businesses from there, understand what their purpose is as well, because I do have business training as well, and I coach them through that as well. There's a tool called Ikigai that we use, which is a Japanese concept, basically means your reason for being.
Seeing, yeah,
Uh,
I've seen that.
yeah,
I've seen that
yeah, so,
recently.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's a very powerful tool,
yeah.
right? And there's 4 quadrants for your listeners, and the quadrants basically says, what are your passions, right, or hobbies? The second quadrant is about what are your abilities, what are your skills. Like the third quadrant looks at what the world needs in terms of what can you address that you see in the world,
A
i.e.,
solution for
Sean,
the problems that we face.
exactly. That's what Equal Start is doing, CIC. And then the fourth thing is what you get paid for. So essentially, that tool helps you understand yourself from a skills and passions perspective. It allows you to then look at how you can make a difference in the world, and then how you can get paid for that. Whether it's getting clear on a business that you want to set up, or a career path that you want to pursue, right? That's what it gets helps you get clear on. So that's the process, right, of purpose creation. So that's the 3-month program, and then once they've completed that, they go on in their lives. But as a coach, what I always pride myself in is I'm always available to a client. So I say to them from the get-go, I'm your coach for life. So that means even though we might have a limited time together, whether it's 3 months, whether it's a year, whatever it is, I'm your coach for life. So that means there might be a point where there might be a breakdown. You've forgotten the tools, life is has
Of
become a bit
course,
heavy.
you need
You need that
maintenance like we're
freshen up.
doing building. Yeah,
Exactly. You need
you
that
need to
maintenance. You
obviously you
need
need to review things. You understand?
exactly,
We
exactly.
have we're habitual creatures, so we
Literally,
fall
we're
into
habitual creatures. I love that. I
so
love
go
that.
back into the original
Exactly. We'll go
program.
back into our programming. We self-sabotage.
Charge,
And
yeah,
and there's a
yeah.
part of our brain that does that, which is the chimp part of the brain. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the concept of the chimp and the chimp paradox.
No, no,
Um,
no, I'm not familiar with
so
that.
very quickly for your listeners and for yourself, Sean, there's a book called The Chimp Paradox by a psychologist called Dr. Steve Peters. I always talk
Okay.
about this book. His notion is understanding the parts of the brain that play a significant role in our character and our language and how we show up in the world. So he looked at 3 key components. The frontal lobe, which is where he calls the human side resides, and that's the part of the brain that's responsible for when you're in the zone, when you're super
Um,
productive, when you're flying high, you're operating from that place, right? He also looks at a part of the brain where he calls the computer, which is the memory bank part of the brain that stores all of your memories, all your
okay.
lived experience. And then the last part is the limbic system, which is the back of the brain, which is the part of the brain that stores your emotional machine, or i.e., your chimp. So what it basically talks about is whenever we receive information, whether it's a comment or a situation that we're seeing, the chimp part of the brain is one that responds first. And it's
Yeah,
the
because that's
emotional
impulsive. It's
machine.
impulsive. It's
Impulsive,
impulsive. Mm,
exactly.
mm,
It's not rational, it's not logical, it's all emotional.
mm.
And if we are able to take a step back in that instance, we will notice that we always respond from an emotional perspective. Rarely do we always operate from logical, rational perspectives, right? So once we understand that, then we have to acknowledge that that part of the brain is the dominant part of the brain. It's the one that's it's there for survival.
Bro.
It has a purpose essentially, and that's been cultivated over the years. But unfortunately, it doesn't know how to differentiate between real danger versus perceived danger.
Mm.
Everything is dangerous, right? So it's part of the part of the brain's job is for survival. So when we're going through coaching, what we try to get people to do is to step into their logical brain more, right? With the human side more. So you're able to see things from a logical, rational perspective. So we're not quick to make judgments. We're not quick to criticize. We're not quick to analyze, right? We're able to see things. Okay, how do I deal with this powerfully? That's a term I always use. How do I deal with this powerfully? Right? Which puts you in the driver's seat. So you're stepping away from emotion, like I said, and you're stepping into the factual perspective. We're not
Well,
dealing with
you're naturally
emotions.
built like that,
We're
though.
dealing. No, but
Some people are more
we've had to. I've
predisposed to
had to
it.
cultivate that. No, I've had to work on that. Remember,
I know, but your
I'm
base
from Hackney.
level.
Yeah, my
Remember, I
base
told you
level. I
before,
get
your base
yes,
level is
yes.
higher than a lot of people that
I
you
get that.
come across day to day. It's
I'm
like,
with you.
look, for instance, even though I was sick the other day. Well, actually, when I tore my ACL,
Mm.
a woman's trying to play fight with me when I was in crutch. She said, "Oh, you're vulnerable now. I can get you." And when I threw her into the sofa now, she started laughing. She said, "Jesus, you're still strong as an ox." I said, "Yeah, don't let this crutch fool you." That, but it's that why people said, "Look, it's the base level of some people. Even if you train, because like, look,
Mm.
if I try to compete with Usain Bolt in his prime, even if I train for 100 years, I'll never be able to
It's not
beat
happening. It's
Usain
not
Bolt.
happening. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
he's genetically predisposed to that speed, even though he has to train to get to he's the
Mm.
best and the elite level to
Mm.
beat his
Mm.
competitors like him. But his
Mm.
base level will make him faster than most people in the
I'm with you.
population.
Yes,
So,
yes,
so
yes.
I always tell people never underestimate that because people look at that and said, "Oh wow, I can believe I can do it. I can overcome that. I can be better." Than I said, "Boy, I said, yeah, within reason. But it
Mm.
said there's miracles
Yes.
and God is superpower, but I said some things, are beyond our limitations. And like Dirty Harry used to say in what was it? Was that, yeah? Is it Dirty Harry? The old police film with Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
Where
What do you say?
said your man's got to understand his limitations. And that's where the
Mm.
collaboration part comes in, where
Yes,
maybe I
exactly.
need to delegate that to someone or go to someone there that
Mm.
can do that.
100%. 100%.
And that's why
100%.
if I tried to not think, because people say, oh, because it's self-help stuff. Believe you can achieve. I said, yeah,
Mm.
to a certain level and according to your abilities and what you're designed and for, but it said that can only take you so far. Mm.
Exactly, exactly. So this is the work, So once you understand that, then we know that to your question again, initially it's that 3 month program, and some people they continue further along the line, but ultimately it gets to a point where they need that touch up, they need that maintenance, and that's what we provide. So it's again 3 months initially, but it can be for life. I've had coaches. I still have a coach myself. I've been getting my coaches since 2014. It's something that I'm always gonna
Oh,
need because
2014.
again. Yeah, since 2014, I've had a
So even
coach.
when you was working at Virgin, you was already
Yeah, yeah,
planning to move into it.
yeah,
Okay, so
exactly,
you're back up to
exactly.
be fair. I was similar to you.
Yeah.
Because before I'm a facilities engineer, I was in housing and market research and doing door work, like nightclub
Mm,
supervisory work, where it took me like, what, I say 4 or 5 years to actually make the transition into it.
mm,
So I had to be doing that in the background because I said, yeah, I'm
yes.
tired of this low pay and I want more money and better skills so I could do more stuff at home in terms of
Mm,
my own
mm,
maintenance of my own property. So
mm.
yeah, without having to hire someone for big fees, and I said they
Yes,
saved me a lot of
yes,
money. So the skill saved me a lot of money, and then it was able to get me a job in another sector which paid more. So
yes.
yeah, so I
I
understand
love
that. Mm.
I love how you said that as well. Like you did your training, you invested in yourself,
Yeah,
Sean,
yeah,
to then get the skills to deal with life. So
yeah.
that same sort of mindset is what coaching is all about. People invest in themselves through a coach to get the skills, and then they can go on and deal with life because they've now equipped themselves. They've given them a head start. They've given themselves a head start, or they've given themselves a really good foundation to go and deal with life powerfully. And I keep using that word. We deal with life powerfully. We move from survival to thriving, and that's what life coaching is all about.
So going forward, I've got well, like I said, the Enough Said Collective, and there's another kind of group. I'm in the Disruptors Network. They some of the people could benefit from your help. So yeah, when you come
I'm
in,
with you.
I will plug you. I'll plug
Yeah,
into it.
I'm with you.
Are you
I
gonna have to
love
be
that.
around, or you're gonna have to be around?
Yeah, no, I
Yeah, I
love
know,
that.
I
Sure.
know. You do your disappearing routine. I said, "Oh, James, where are you?"
I'm
I'm
sorry,
so
but
busy.
again,
I'm trying to go to visit Sean.
no, but again,
Man,
like I
there's no
said,
music
Sean,
thing all the time at Daddy's Voices.
yeah, yeah, no, I hear you. But like I said, it's a different mindset, especially 2020. I can't do this by myself. I need to be more in more collaborative spaces, and I need to, and I'm ready to help more people, help support more people. I don't like using the word help because that just means people can't do it for themselves, right? I'm ready to support more people. I'm ready to give my services to more spaces. So I'm up for it, man. I'm up for it, Sean.
Okay. So when going forward, when is the best time available to talk and obviously to plan this out?
I mean, we can usually Thursdays. I'm at quieter days, so
Okay.
Thursdays, I don't have anything really on unless I've got discovery
One to
calls or
one.
clients
Okay.
one-to-ones. But Thursday usually are my best days.
Okay. And you're busy with the weekends with
Yeah,
your
the
son,
family. Yeah,
your
yeah, yeah,
family.
yeah. The family.
Okay.
Yeah,
You never had any clients on the weekends?
yeah. I mean, there are times, especially recently, where some people I've had to make exceptions because they're dealing with some real difficulties.
Yeah.
So I've had to make a way.
Okay.
So
But
yeah,
Thursdays
at
generally.
Thursdays are great. Sometimes in the evening's pretty cool as well. So we can always, put our heads together and find it. Ultimately, Sean, it's how do I collaborate? How do I add more services to people? How do I make more of a difference? And then we plan around that, especially around the family, because the family is obviously first. We
Correct,
need
yeah,
to
of
plan around
course.
that. Do you know what I mean? But at the
Yeah,
same
that's
time,
why I
I'm
haven't gone back
providing,
to the
right? So
facility.
yeah,
Mm.
exactly. So I'm
Mm.
providing. So it goes hand in hand anyway. So make it work that way.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on today.
Hey, you're very welcome, Sean, man. Listen, I love this. I'm looking forward
Mm.
to having more collaborative conversations moving forward, man. I'm really looking forward to it. And again, very quickly, I just need to acknowledge you, man, for the stand you're taking, for the person you are, considering where you've come from, the things you've had to overcome, the adversity you've had to deal with, but you're still able to have a stand about making a difference in the world and contributing. That really needs to be acknowledged because there are people, especially in my line of work, who continuously blame and point fingers at circumstance why they're not doing things. That's an
Mm.
easy way out, but you
Mm.
have gone through things, but you're still doing what you're doing. That needs to be acknowledged. So, and again, we're brothers, man, in this regard. There's not many of people who look like us doing
Yeah,
what we're doing. So
definitely.
you need to maintain what you're doing, Sean, man. It's needed.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks very much, man.
You're very welcome,
And
my
on that
man.
note, people, where there are people, there is power. Justice in our time.